If you were a soldier in the Second World War, lighting a fire could get you killed. A single spark at night could reveal your position to artillery observers or aircraft. Smoke during the day could draw sniper fire or airstrikes. Yet men still needed boiling water for food, medical sterilization, and warmth. Out of that deadly necessity came one of the quietest and most ingenious field techniques of the war: boiling water without a flame. This was not folklore or experimental theory. It was documented, taught, and used across multiple theatres of combat. And once you understand how it worked, you realize it remains just as relevant today for off-grid living, survival scenarios, and low-visibility cooking. What follows is not a novelty trick. It is a method built on chemistry, physics, and battlefield reality, and it can still be applied with modern materials if you know what to look for. Why wartime armies needed heat without fire. During World War II, frontline units often operated under strict no-flame orders. In Europe, patrols behind enemy lines could not risk campfires. In the Pacific, Japanese and Allied forces alike avoided open flames that would betray jungle positions at night. In North Africa, fires were visible for miles in open terrain. Despite this, boiling water remained essential. Soldiers had to rehydrate rations, sterilize instruments, disinfect wounds, and melt snow in cold regions. Traditional stoves were too visible and often unreliable. Fuel was heavy and scarce. The solution came from a different approach entirely, producing heat through chemical reaction rather than combustion. So, here's how exothermic reactions ended up replacing fire out in the field. The core principle behind this method is the exothermic reaction itself, a chemical process that, well, releases heat when substances react together. Now, military chemists already knew all about these reactions from their work in industry and medicine. During World War II, engineers took that knowledge and adapted it into portable solutions that could be used right there in the field. One of the most widely used substances was quicklime, which you might also know as calcium oxide. When water is added to quicklime, it goes through a pretty violent chemical reaction that releases a whole lot of heat. The interesting thing is, this reaction doesn't need any oxygen. It doesn't make a flame, and if you keep it properly contained, there's barely any visible vapor. In controlled setups, the heat from these reactions was strong enough to bring water to a rolling boil in just a few minutes. Some of these reactions could even reach temperatures well over 100 degrees Celsius, which is more than enough for sterilization and, of course, for cooking. So, here's how soldiers actually boiled water without, using a flame. Field manuals from the time describe some pretty simple but honestly effective setups. Usually a metal container or a double-walled vessel would hold the water that needed boiling. Around, or sometimes beneath this container, soldiers would place quicklime or other similar compounds. Then just a small amount of water was introduced to trigger the chemical reaction. The heat from this reaction transferred directly into the inner container, boiling the water silently and without giving away their position. The British, for example, developed flameless ration heaters that use magnesium-based compounds. Meanwhile, the US military experimented with chemical heating packs that would activate when water was added. German forces, on the other hand, used calcium oxide in their engineering units and medical teams, mainly for sterilization purposes. These systems, well, they produced no light, no flame, and absolutely no smoke plume, which made them just perfect for night operations or any kind of covert movement. So, applying this knowledge today in a practical, safe way is definitely possible. Now, quicklime is still available nowadays, but honestly, it must be handled with great care. It's highly caustic, so you absolutely need protective gloves and eye protection if you decide to work with it. That said, the basic principle can actually be applied using safer modern equivalents, which makes things a lot easier for most people. Commercial flameless ration heaters, which are still used by modern militaries around the world, operate on pretty similar chemical principles. These handy little devices can be repurposed for emergency kits, camping trips, or just general off-grid preparedness, really. If you're interested in a more historical approach, calcium oxide can be used in a sealed outer chamber with a steel or thick aluminum inner vessel holding the water. The key here is separation. The water being boiled must never come into contact with the chemical reactants. Also, venting must be controlled carefully to avoid any dangerous pressure build-up, and honestly, the whole setup should always be tested in a safe environment before any real use. In survival scenarios where visibility matters, such as wildlife observation, emergency sheltering, or, discreet outdoor cooking, this method allows for hot water without revealing your location. Why this technique mattered beyond cooking. Boiling water in World War II was not just about meals. Medics relied on sterile water for wound cleaning and instrument sanitation. In winter campaigns, heated water prevented frostbite and hypothermia. Engineers used hot water to soften frozen equipment and thaw mechanical parts. This technique allowed soldiers to maintain hygiene and health in environments where fires were forbidden or impossible. It quietly saved lives without drawing attention. So, why does this World War II knowledge still matter today? Well, modern survival culture often, puts a lot of emphasis on primitive fire-starting skills. But actually, World War II shows us another path entirely. Sometimes the smartest solution isn't about making a flame at all. It's about using chemistry. In urban blackout scenarios, disaster zones, or regions where smoke could attract danger, the ability to generate heat invisibly can really be decisive. This is not outdated knowledge. It's, proven under pressure, refined by necessity, and adaptable with today's materials. Understanding it really does expand your options when traditional methods fail or, become liabilities. What World War II teaches us about quiet resilience? The real lesson here isn't the chemical reaction itself, but the mindset behind it. Wartime innovation was, honestly, driven by constraint. When fire became dangerous, soldiers did not give up heat. They changed the rules. That same mindset applies today. Backyard wisdom is about learning from the past, not to romanticize it, but to extract tools that still work. World War II's flameless boiling methods remind us that survival is often quieter, smarter, and more deliberate than, popular myths suggest. If you found this deep dive into wartime ingenuity valuable, Make sure to subscribe to Backyard Wisdom for more historically grounded techniques that still matter today. Share this with fellow history enthusiasts, preppers, and survivalists who appreciate practical knowledge rooted in real experience. The past still has much to teach us if we take the time to listen.